Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and it's Monday. And with me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome to all my goblins and ghouls out there. Timstradamus, would you like to hear a joke today?
Yes.
What do skeletons order at a restaurant?
A Cubone.
I like that, but it's actually some spare ribs.
Okay. One day I'm going to get them. For any of our new listeners, Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for thought.
We have some more shout-outs to make.
Yes, we have 3 new patrons. Julie Melitilo, Alexandria Sapien, and A. D'Amico.
Thank you guys so much. We appreciate and love every single one of you.
Yes.
So, Voyse, what did you brew this morning?
I brewed for you a fruity drink that I've made for you before. It has apples, hibiscus, elderberries, rose hips, pomegranate, and blueberries.
Oh yeah, I remember this. God, that is so good.
I kind of figured I'd start your Monday off really well.
Excelsior.
I like that. Excelsior. Well, let's delve into these amazing stories that was actually shared to us by our listeners.
Ooh.
For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for dropping our dinner on the ground and walking out when my boyfriend asked me, "What's for dinner tonight?"
Monday.
I was over my boyfriend's apartment this weekend, and I was cooking dinner because he was studying for exams. I made pasta and a chunky sauce with meatballs and veggies. I told him dinner was ready, and he goes, "What's for dinner tonight, bitch?" With like a lot of emphasis on the last word. I was fed up. I'd had a pretty rough day with work, and I have some awfully bad associations with that word being used by other people in my life who were pretty abusive. So I was so irritated that I dropped the pot of pasta sauce I'd been carrying right on the ground and was like, "Well, nothing's for dinner tonight now, and I better not hear you using that word again. It's for the girls." He was freaking out about how sauce had landed on his rug, and he even said, "You're seriously acting like a bitch right now. I don't know what else to call it." I just walked out and got takeout for myself and went to my friend's house. She thought it was funny, but my boyfriend was furious. He kept texting and calling and sending me voice memos trying to explain that saying, "What's for dinner tonight, bitch," was a TikTok trend, and that he was just quoting something as a joke to put on TikTok. I thought that was the shittiest excuse ever. It doesn't matter if he saw it as a joke or stole the joke. It was still disrespectful. But it didn't change the fact he thought that shit was funny, to demean me when I was trying to do him a favor. Like hell, I came over when he was studying to make a home-cooked dinner, and he decides it's time for jokes. So I put my phone on Don't Disturb for the night and split a bottle of wine with my friend and her roommate. The next morning, he was sending me angry texts, demanding I clean his rug because he was too busy with exams to do it. I was shocked he left it overnight. That's disgusting. I texted him back saying, "Yeah, so that's the bitch tax, honey. Leave me alone till you're ready to handle your own cooking and cleaning because this bitch isn't anymore. Also, it's vile you left that soaking in all night." He called me and told me that he was okay with doing his own household work, but I did throw a full pot of sauce at the ground, so that's on me to clean up. I told him, "Yeah, no, I'm not comfortable doing chores for you if you see me like your bitch." He told me he didn't, and it was just a trend. And I got pissed off he was playing that TikTok trend BS excuse again, and I told him, "Well, I'm starting a trend called saucing, where as a little joke, people throw pasta sauce around. You can't be mad because it's just a little trend, a little jokey joke, just a little prank, bro." He got really pissed off and hung up on me, and now I'm seriously wondering if this dumb fucking TikTok joke is going to be the end of things between us. Am I the a-hole for how I reacted when my boyfriend asked me what's for dinner tonight, bitch?
Ooh. What is for dinner?
It sounds like spicy.
Jokey joke? All right. So let's kind of see if we can get some of the gaps filled. Because one of the things I know I didn't hear in this story was how old ROP and her boyfriend are.
Let me actually provide to you an edit that might be able to shed some light on this one. Edit to address a comment I've gotten a lot, and I don't have time to reply to everyone. But did you tell him not to call you a bitch? Like, how would he know otherwise? OP responded, honestly, if someone has gotten to the age of 30 and not realized that women as a whole do not like having demeaning slurs used against them, they are beyond my help. This isn't something that needs to be told. I shouldn't have to go through life like, hey man, just in case you were thinking I might like demeaning slurs against my gender used on me. I don't actually. And if you were about to comment something like that, let me just tell you in no uncertain terms. Women do not like to be called bitches by men. Do not call women bitches. If you needed to be told that is unkind, consider yourself officially told. Now you have no excuse to not understand.
All right, well, you filled in some of the gaps. So we're saying that ROP's boyfriend is somewhere in his 30s-ish. There's literally no excuse to be acting like that. She is very correct. I think the only reason why I thought maybe they were younger was because she was saying he was in school studying for exams, that she was coming over simply to make things easier for him.
And dealing with the TikTok trend, which
exactly.
A lot of trends tend to be more of the younger generation, sort of fun times.
And that's why I was trying to be understanding when I was listening to the story, but I guess that would affect how I feel. If we're talking about like 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and that's how they spoke to each other, that's not out of the realm of impossible, especially when you're talking about relationships. I've seen some wild things that are okay to do now versus when we were growing up. We've seen heinous things be done within relationships.
There are things that I don't agree with that I've seen, but it's not my place to really speak on it because the other side is happy with that kind of standing between each other.
But that's the difference in this type of story. In your 30s or around your 30s, she's right. You would know that that's probably not an acceptable thing to say, even if it's a joke. Now, let's get beyond that. So it is said, it does happen, but she then drops the pot of sauce. I don't think that's an appropriate response. Now you're allowed to have it, but I think maybe that's the only thing I disagree with. All that's doing at that point is escalating the issue. I think, especially if you're in your 30s as well, you put the pot down and you have a real conversation with someone if you do feel disrespected. Going about throwing things just because you're upset doesn't make any sense. That's letting the moment get bigger than you. So, in my opinion, OP, you're not the a-hole.
So the consensus on Reddit is that our OP is not the a-hole. In fact, I think one of the issues that I personally saw when it came to this post was the fact that there never seemed to be any type of apology from our OP's partner at all. There was excuses, but no true apology. There's a lot of times a joke has been taken the wrong way. And the point of a joke is to make sure that everybody's laughing when it comes to that joke. But it stops becoming a joke the moment the other person stops laughing. And rather than double down and wanting to be right and making excuses for what is a really poor excuse for a joke, instead, there's no apology there. It's really just the excuses. And I think this is what's causing this huge rift in their relationship. And I wish I knew personally how long their relationship is. Is this where they've only been together for a few months, or have they been together for years? If they've been together for years, this would be something that he would know she does not like. In the end, I think the moral of this one, just respect your partner.
You've got to be able to show that you can be held accountable. And if you can't, that's not a really good relationship. But dang, he got some balls to do that kind of stuff to his girlfriend. And then tell her, hey, by the way, you need to clean up the sauce.
Oh, yeah. You're seriously acting like one now. Oof, that fire.
What is it again? The audacity.
Well, let's go ahead and go right into our next story and see what happens when it comes to some winnings. Am I the a-hole for giving my ex-wife a large amount of money I won despite the anger of my girlfriend? I recently won a fuck you amount of money. I won't say exactly how much, but it's in the millions. It makes me feel funny even typing. It's enough to change the life of myself and my family. My ex-wife is the mother of my 2 kids. She is an amazing woman and good to the bone. We divorced 6 years ago because I had an affair with my current partner. I was in a low place in my life and I fucked up. She was in incredible pain, but like a fucking saint, she allowed me to still see our kids who mean the world to me, allowed our divorce to be as pain-free as possible despite the fact that I know she was hurting. She still is close with my parents. She is respectful to me, although she refuses to talk to my girlfriend. She was actually the first person I phoned after my mom and pops after I found out I won the lottery. She was pleased for me, joked that I could take the kids on a world-round trip, and that was that, nothing else. As soon as I won, I knew I wanted to give her a significant amount. I still love her. She's the mother of my babies, and I feel like this is some small, tiny way I can show her that I'm not a complete fuck-up. She deserves to know that I care despite my mistakes. She also works a shitty job in the public library, which pays her peanuts. She would actually be able to pursue her hobbies this way, give our kids a better life between us. I haven't discussed this with my ex yet, but I have with my parents, who strongly agree, and my lawyer, who was very surprised but on board. Long story short, when I told my girlfriend, she was livid, screaming that I'm disrespecting her, accusing me of still being in love with my ex-wife. I'm not in love with her. We've both grown apart, but of course I still love her for being an excellent co-parenting partner and mother to my kids. My girlfriend is threatening to break up with me, and to be honest, I'm feeling incredibly relieved over the threats. I don't plan on changing my plans, but am I the a-hole?
Well, this is the chef's kiss. Let's talk about the OP in general. He is a goober because he cheated on his wife. Fair enough. There are some things that at least he's aware of. It sounds like he still does love his ex-wife, but he's not in love with her. He respects her for what she's done for their family. And I guess now he's trying to pay that forward with his lottery winnings. I don't hear one malicious or mean thing come out of this OP's ex-wife. She sounds fantastic. It sounds like he knows he goofed up with cheating.
Breaking of trust is one of those things that really can never be the same as it once was.
Once it's gone, it's gone. The only fun part about this story is the current girlfriend is completely losing her shit over him being kind. Especially when you're talking about the excess of a lottery winning. If you can pay it forward and have other people's lives be better, especially within your family, why isn't that the right answer? And she's threatening to leave him. I think she's doing you the favor.
Our OP literally says he's relieved.
That says a lot about your relationship. Now, I don't know what she has claim to, depending on where you live and how long you've been together, technically. Because I know, what's that called again when you're not married, but in certain states?
Oh, common law marriage.
Common law, you know?
Well, I can actually provide you with a little bit more information regarding that front. They've been together for 6 years, but they don't live together. Apparently, his girlfriend has always stressed her need for independence. On top of that, one of his reasons he says that he's relieved that his girlfriend wants to break up with him is because she's actually taken to insulting his kids and calling them names.
Oh no. The second that starts happening, you're gone. I pick my kids first.
I definitely agree with that.
I hope that they gave our OP some perspective on that, and hopefully he makes the right decision with his life going forward too.
I believe so. If anything, there is one comment on there that provided me with more understanding between our OP and his ex-wife. And he said, "I am indeed a dum-dum. Neither my ex-wife nor I would like a romantic relationship moving forward. We admitted a long time ago that divorce has made us better to each other."
I mean, obviously, our OP is definitely not the a-hole, but that kind of story just makes you feel good.
It's one of those things where you feel good about humanity, just a little bit. Well, the consensus was that he's not the a-hole. And for obvious reasons from our Redditors, They say you haven't committed to her. You guys aren't living together. It's been 6 years that you've been together. And it doesn't sound like the relationship's really good at all. It's your money. You can do with it what you will. The fact that you're using it to better the lives of your kids and then turn around and actually wanting to positively impact the person that you hurt really badly and are aware of how badly you hurt shows that you have in you the ability to be compassionate.
It sounds like he's learned from his mistakes.
Yes. Well, let's go ahead and take this next call that's coming in for our next story. Am I the a-hole for making inappropriate noises when my mother-in-law called my husband's phone at 2 a.m.? My husband, Kevin, and I got married months ago. Ever since we moved away, his mom started calling more often. She had a mental breakdown when she heard we were moving. She begged we stay near because she needs him, though her 2 older sons are there. Anyhow, she'd call at random times, then started calling in the middle of the night, specifically at 2 a.m. I thought that was so weird, but she said she wanted to hear Kevin's voice, but was too busy to call during the day. Kevin responds to her call every time, saying he's worried there might be an emergency. It's exhausting and completely ruins our alone time. I asked her to call at like 10, but no, she kept calling at 2. Kevin said he can't bring himself to ignore her calls and asked that I be patient. Last night, I decided I wasn't having it. I waited till Kevin was asleep and put his phone on vibrate and waited for her to call. 2 o'clock rolls around and the phone starts vibrating on the nightstand. Zzz, zzz. I stretch my arm to answer and then I start making sex noises from the bed. I'm talking full-on moaning and then some dirty talk, then moaning. Few seconds in and she ends the call. Kevin wakes up and asks if I was all right. I tell him it's just a fever, then he goes back to sleep. I woke up to a complete disaster with Kevin angrily asking what the fuck I did last night when his mom called. Clearly she was livid and mortified because Kevin said I just traumatized her by having her think we were having sex when she called. I told him what I did and insisted it was just out of frustration. But he said I shouldn't have done that and embarrassed him and made his mom uncomfortable. I said she was calling at 2 a.m. He said still, I acted childishly and potentially harmed his relationship with her. I told him to just tell her I was behind this and he said, oh, don't worry about it, I will. Then demanded I apologize to her immediately, but her shaming texts made me refuse. I might have went about this the wrong way, but I was just frustrated, that's all. Am I the a-hole?
What a excellent response to the mother-in-law our OP had. I guess I'll say it like this. OP in this situation is not the a-hole. Do I like how she responded to what had been going on? Obviously not. There's better ways to go around that because it really does speak to the relationship as a whole, where you can't have a conversation with your husband saying, hey, look, 2 o'clock in the morning is inappropriate. If it was every once in a while, maybe that's understandable. Because if someone does call that late, normally there's something that happened.
Agreed.
And being woken up like that on a daily basis, that can have some very damaging long-term effects on somebody. You mess with people's sleep cycles, ooh, man, there are a lot of people who pay dearly for that.
Timstradamus appreciates sleep.
I love sleep. You can't do that on a consistent basis. So for her husband not to understand where she's coming from, all simply because he needs to make his mom happy, she can still be happy by making those phone calls at an appropriate time. You know, I know for a lot of couples, they give family members outside of the home up until a certain time. Because it does get to the point where at the end of the night, when everything's wrapped up, when you're done with the kids, when you're done with dinner, when you're done with all the household responsibilities after work, there is that little bit of time you might be able to squeeze out with you and your partner. So the one thing that I ponder here is, what's having the mother call him at 2 a.m. outside if she just needs to hear his voice? Like, what is she going through that's making that acceptable?
Unless she's one of those parents that just can't let go.
And that might be the husband's 2 other brothers still live there.
Correct.
Now, I understand maybe it might be a shock to her because a son moved away. But that's a conversation that her husband needs to have with his mom. Draw the boundaries, make sure it's healthy and works for everyone, because then you won't have situations like this crop up where your wife has to mark her territory in such a way that it scars her mother-in-law.
I think it's hilarious.
I do too. I just don't like that it got to that point because it shows the overall healthiness of the relationship. You can't walk around doing that to each other. Both sides. I just feel like she only got to that point because of how dramatic this problem is.
Well, the consensus on Reddit was pretty split between our OP not being the a-hole and everyone sucking here. I will side with the everyone sucking here. You made it quite clear when it comes to the not the a-holes, and that seems to be the way that Redditors thought. Now, let me go ahead and provide some perspectives from our Redditors regarding the everyone sucks here verdict. A lot of individuals didn't feel as if our poster laid down her boundaries to her husband. She might have complained about it, but she didn't lay it down saying, this is not acceptable for our relationship. And I think having those clear boundaries is extremely important, which is why I veer with everyone sucks here. I think her husband, Kevin, not making sure that his relationship with his mother is healthy makes him a very big part of the problem here. He's hearing these concerns from his wife, and the amount of time that he spends in the middle of the night when you're not resting well to deal with the dramatics of his mother. He's not laying down these good foundations between his wife and his mother. And it is his responsibility because that's his mother, first and foremost. Additionally, I think that the mother-in-law sucks. I can understand that you want to hold on to your babies. I get that. You have that instinct in you that just says they're yours. You had them from when they were tiny and you love them. But there's a difference between that and smothering a relationship, because the way that this mother-in-law is acting, it is smothering the relationship between our OP and her husband. And the fact that our OP's husband is fine with this, not okay. To go ahead and put excuses on it is definitely not okay. And that's how Redditors took when it came to the everyone sucks here.
Mother-in-law is going to think twice before she calls it an inappropriate hour, though.
Oh, that's very true. You don't know what people are doing. Well, let's go to our very last story and see what you think about this situation. Am I the a-hole for telling my roommate that her pregnancy is not my problem? The girl that I live with, Kay, is pregnant and is due early next year. Of course, she seems excited to have a baby, but at the same time, she has been making her pregnancy my problem. I get that the pregnancy is going to affect her physically in many ways, but Kay has been a pain in the ass to deal with. I had to throw out all of the bananas because she was complaining about how strong the smell was. She isn't helping with cooking/cleaning as much as she used to. Kay cries about almost everything and it's annoying as hell. Her pregnancy is making her vomit, which I expected, but sometimes the vomiting is so intense, and once she pretty much projectile vomited on the floor because she couldn't make it to the bathroom, for which I had to clean her vomit up. Over the past few months, she has been asking me to get things for her from the store, even on good days when she isn't feeling sick. When I asked her why she couldn't just get up and go to the store herself, she says that I'm not the pregnant one. So this is where I may be the a-hole. Kay has been asking me to drive her to her appointments, which I did once, but then it became a constant thing of her asking me and I kept refusing. This is what happened the other day. She asked me to take her to the clinic. I said no, I was busy that day. She kept pleading with me, and finally I had enough and kind of snapped. I told her that she is the only one responsible for her pregnancy and to not make it my problem, so that she needs to stop making it by asking me to constantly do favors for her. She started crying, and I left because I couldn't take it anymore. I know I may have been harsh to a pregnant lady, but I don't feel like I need to be her personal servant. Am I the a-hole?
All right, so let me ask this question because I've been trying to work through it as you're reading the story. Is this an actual roommate situation?
Well, it's a very unique story. And I feel like from how you're asking, you kind of picked up on the oddity of it.
Yes.
Our OP actually admitted in the comments that he's her husband.
What are you doing? Why wouldn't he have let off with that? Because he knows he's going to be called an asshole? Like, emotional damage. Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no, no, no.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Okay, well, clearly you're a gigantic a-hole. She's asking you to take her to appointments, and you're telling her, no, she's not a roommate. She's your wife. But why would you have penned this as if she's just someone that you don't have any responsibility to?
Let me go ahead and respond to that with one of his comments. He says, again, her pregnancy is her responsibility. I'm waiting for the baby to come so that we could be done with this. She is my roommate. I mean, that's what she's acting like instead of a wife. And by the way, he actually says this was a planned pregnancy.
What cave did you crawl out of, you troll? So I guess I found our Wiener Jacket of the Week award, and we're only on Monday.
Yeah. Well, the consensus on Reddit had been not the a-hole until they saw his comment, and then everybody changed their verdict to an overwhelming you're the a-hole. The fact that he would go ahead and hide that he's in a relationship with his baby mama is a huge issue with a lot of people, understandably. Not just in a relationship, they're married, husband and wife. It's not boyfriend and girlfriend. It's not that they've been together for a little bit. It's that this is a planned pregnancy and they are married. I can understand it's very tough on a pregnancy. Every woman has a different body, a different way of reacting to things. Some women need more attention. Sometimes they're in more pain than their pain tolerance can go ahead and handle. And some women will be just fine. But the fact that you would, one, downgrade your relationship to a roommate status because you're annoyed with your wife who's pregnant, and apparently the pregnancy is really bad. She wasn't able to even get to the toilet before throwing up. That's how bad it is. I can tell you, morning sickness really sucks. But I was lucky, knock on wood, that when I did have to throw up, it really was at specific times for whatever reason, and I was able to make it to a toilet.
I think I'm just more shocked that he tells us he only got her to one appointment, and then after that was like, I'm not doing this ever again.
I can't throw away those dirty bananas that are rotten anymore. Yeah, I know. There's something about it that screams, it's not one person that made this child. It's two. And the moment that that baby is growing and you guys are in a relationship, gonna raise this child together, you know, you're already acknowledging that she's going through a lot. And is it a fun time for her? No. It's also probably not gonna be a fun time for you either. That's just the way that sometimes it happens. And like I said, pain tolerance is a huge thing, and it varies between everybody. The fact that he would downgrade the relationship to such a mediocre status, and not only that, to everybody on the internet, shows just how much he really values his wife.
You got some introspection to do, guy. Well, was that our last story?
That was our last story.
Today was full of them.
Thank you, listeners.
Yeah. Thank you guys for sharing these stories. Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you've seen the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, or follow and turn on notifications for new content. We are regularly posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We would also love to thank all of our patrons for continuing to support our channel.
Love and appreciate every one of you.
We would also love to hear your opinions on these stories in the comments section below.
And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.
What a shame. All that lost pasta.
Mamma mia!